डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Namaskar students. I, Dr. Binni Waghela, Assistant Professor from English Department, School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, welcome you all to this video lecture series for the students of the third year Bachelor of Arts in English. In this session, I am going to discuss a personal essay written by William Hazlitt. The name of the essay is On Reading Old Books. This is unit number 14 from paper number 8. Content of today's session is objectives, introduction, theme of the essay, reading old and new, genre of literature, personal essay, books and writers in the essay, and figures of speech. Let's start with the introduction. The objectives of this session is, in this unit, you will learn to read, understand, analyze and appreciate a work of literature, a specific genre that is personal essay. You will be able to appreciate the features of the personal essay, which gained popularity during the Romantic Age. On completing this unit, you should be able to read literary essays, which distinguish the chief characteristics of each form, and understand the use of allusions and references by a writer. Before we move into the detail about this essay, let's discuss what is personal essay. A personal essay is a short work of autobiographical non-fiction characterized by a sense of intimacy and a conversational manner. It is also called a personal statement. Personal essays relate the author's intimate thoughts and experience to universal truths. They aren't simply a retelling of events, though that falls more in the realm of memoir or autobiography. They conclude with the author having learned, changed, or grown in some way, and often present some truth of insight that challenges the reader to draw their own conclusion. The personal essay is the freest form of literature. This also makes it the hardest to define. Broadly speaking, it can be broken into two sections: narrative and opinion. It is an account of your experience. It is your thoughts on a subject. The best essayists are able to weave these sections together. A personal essay can be written on any subject. Common themes include relationships, nature, isolation, hobbies, illness, writing, and morality and mortality. The subject is not the important thing, it is your treatment of it. Personal essays are concerned with the process of judging, not the judgment reached. You need to be aware of your prejudices and reveal them to the reader. Doing so will help to give the essay a conscience. The reader wants to see your point of view, what you think and why you think it. Your point of view is shaped by your experience, your personality and your writing style. You are constantly revealing yourself to the reader. The things that irritate or make you happy, the times in your life of pain or humor. These are the building materials of your personal essay. I is the most important word in the personal essayist vocabulary. The personal essay is a dialogue between the thinker who thinks, the writer who writes, and the reader who reads. The use of weight, humor, and irony will help to give the essay a conversational tone. The Romantic age witnessed the use of subjectivity in creative writing, which was in stark contrast to the Neoclassical age, which was an age of objective writing. While poets like Wordsworth and Coleridge or Keats and Shelley wrote the subjective poetry, essayists like Charles Lamb and William Hazlitt were exponents of the personal essay in the same age. A personal essay has been defined as a short work of autobiographical nonfiction, characterized by a sense of intimacy and a conversational manner. William Hazlitt has many writings to his credit, including treatises on moral philosophy and politics, collection of his critical lectures, etc., influenced by the events of the French Revolution. His outlook is essentially critical. His mind is deeply impregnated with romanticism, and this is further intensified by a vivid faculty of imagination. His most important collections of essays are The Round Table, Table Talk, etc. No one is probably more alive than Hazlitt to the joys of independence and of art. The essay on reading old books was first published in the New Monthly magazine and is also found in lectures on the English comic writers as well as in the Plain Speaker. The essay is a confession of his reading habits, and the essayist helps us wander with him through the various stages of his life. We peep into his we peep into his likes and dislikes, almost as if he were talking to us. This is a characteristic feature of the personal essay as a literary form. As Lamb did in many of his essays, we find Hazlitt too revealing himself in the essay. The writer's own character is always there, flaunted before the reader, but it is carefully prepared and controlled before it is exhibited. Of Hazlitt's rambling style, a critic wrote, "The dew from 1,000 pastures was gathered into the softness." Now let's discuss the theme of the essay. Hazlitt describes in detail his love for reading, especially old books. He says that the fact that no new book can ever take the place of his old favorites. He believes in reading only those books that were published some time back and does not believe in the importance of their newest glues. To him, books are also read for the memory associated with them. That is, when he reads an old book, he is transported to that period of life when he first read it. To him, they then become links in the chain of our conscious being. The essayist provides a long list of writers and their works and delineates in detail their specific features, which made them special when he first read them and continue to have a sway over him after many years. In contrast, he argues the contemporary books are mere words and fail to have any power over him. He fails to revive the kind of interest that he felt earlier. He looks back with gratitude and triumph at all books that he could read and concludes the essay with a list of works that he would love to read for various reasons. A critic and acquaintance of Wordsworth and Coleridge, Hazlitt was witnessing the poetic sea change of the Romantic period firsthand. He was immersed in the contemporary literature scene that must have been amongst the most thriving, exhilarating, and inspiring in the history of English literature. And yet, even Hazlitt found himself abandoning the literary rumpus of his day for the quiet meditation of an old book. Like Goldsmith, Lamb, and Stevenson, Hazlitt loved to live on the memories of his youth, intentionally and continuously. His pleasure in writing of favorite authors is in great part of the pleasure of remembering what he was when he first read them. The happiness of his early life seems to be also the happiness of his later life. Now let's discuss Reading Old and New by Hazlitt. In the course of the essay, Hazlitt contrasts old and new books. In the process, he lists the features that make reading old books, such an enjoyable experience. The essay proves the wide reading of the essayist as he rambles through books and writers with consummate ease. To him, a book being old is not a flaw as many modern readers would like to opine. Old books bind the different scattered divisions of one's personality. He has more confidence in the dead than in the living. Hazlitt is convinced that when he reads an old book, he looks at the face of an old friend and he seems to know what to expect. He considers them landmarks and guides in the journey of life. Even on looking at an old book, he gets the delightful feeling of 20 years being struck of his life and he is a child once again. The familiarity of old books extends to another level, namely, the history said by the book and the reader. In contrasting the old and new books, he says, the sharp, luscious flavor, the fine aroma is fled, and nothing but the stalk, the bran, and husk of literature is left. With old books, you get the additional advantage that, like an old and trusted friend, you can always learn something new. And you can take your time too, without having to worry about rushing to the end. You can linger or skip or scheme, or you have been there already. Now let's discuss genre of literature. Personal essay. This essay is a perfect example of genre known as the personal essay. The personal essay examines a subject outside of the self, but through the lens of self. Hazlitt meanders through his readings of both past and present, and thus allows the reader to have a peek into his likes and dislikes. We can also see here the personal element, that is, self revelation, individual tastes and experiences, confidential manner, humor, graceful style, rambling structure, unconventionally or novelty of theme. There is also a loose structure which helps in the rambling style, as a personal essay is a conversation with the readers. The essayist speaks to us almost directly. Now here Does he write to impress or write from a pedestal? He admits to his weakness in no uncertain terms when he writes, I am deficient in the faculty of imagination. Though his writing does not stand testimony to this, the personal essay is an informal mixture of storytelling, facts, wisdom, and personality. As we read this essay, we are struck by this ability of the essayist to combine easily obvious facts with a bit of storytelling. A personal essay is a glimpse of the writer's life. The writer describes the personal experience using the scene building technique, weaves a theme throughout the narrative, and makes an important point. There must be a lesson or meaning, which here is the importance of reading old books. As was said of Lamb, so can we say of Hazlitt, the writer's own character is always there, flaunted before the reader, but it is carefully prepared and controlled before it is exhibited. A personal essay can wander through its subject, circle around it, get the long view and the short, always providing experience, knowledge, book learning, and personal history. This essay provides the reader with a wide range of books that one can read and also the features of each kind as well as how the essayist benefited from it. The personal essay tries to say what is evident and to come to a conclusion that the reader may agree or disagree. Many readers of future generations may totally disagree with Hazlitt's choice of books, but that does not deter the essayist from expressing his point of view. Now let's discuss books and writers in the essay. As the essayist writes of his love for old books, the essay is filled with names of authors and their books. It would be impossible to make an exhaustive list of them, yet a quick glance at some of them would contribute greatly to our appreciation of Hazlitt, who probably neither during his lifetime or even later received the acclaim he deserved. The essayist moves easily from the well-known authors, books, and characters to the almost unheard of. Hazlitt read almost all genre of literature becomes obvious as we read the essay. To him, these old books are indeed the wardrobe of a moral imagination. The characters and the characteristics of the three novels mentioned above are described vividly. As he writes, open them anywhere and there I find the same delightful, busy, bustling scene as ever, and feel myself the same as when I was first introduced into the midst of it. It is important to note that the French Revolution did have a great impact on writers of the Romantic age, and Hazlitt was no exception to this. Hobbes and Locke were among his favorite authors, and so was De Quincey. Burke finds more description, but Burke's style was forked and playful as the lightning, crested like the serpent. He delivered plain things on plain ground, but when he rose, there was no end of his fight. There was no end of his flights. Hazlitt ends the essay listing writers that he has not read but has always wanted to read. to a student of literature, this essay can well serve as a catalog for each to decide on their reading list. Now let's discuss figures of speech. Hazlitt was a painter too, and his feel for the texture of painting can be perceived in his essays too. This is seen also in the metaphors and similes with which the essay is luxuriously sprinkled. To him, the old writers and the pure and silent air of immortality, while the new ones are merely the dust and smoke and noise. His love for books is an appetite. Continuing the metaphor, he writes of his palate being nauseated with the most insipid or vilest trash, as newfangled books are mere meat dishes. Old books have a number of attributes, metaphors appended to them, landmarks and guides in our journey through life, wardrobe of a moral imagination, pegs and loops on which we can hang up, relics of our best affections, tokens and records of our happy hours, tokens and records of our happiest hours. The list above shows that the essayist combines adjectives and metaphors with a natural ease, as was the case with most romantic writers. To look through the pages of his favorite books was like gazing at wild beasts in a menagerie, and in recalling the pleasure that he felt in the past on reading those books of yore, he writes that they are like heavenly tints of fancy reflected in the bubbles that float upon the spring tide of human life. Reading a poem written by kids that he had read in his childhood, Hazlitt quotes at length from the poem. A reader would remember the rich tapestry of Keats, the Eve of St. Agnes. The essayist says he dipped into these books, and we can see how well his quill is equipped to describe all of them. In this unit, you have learned the features of a personal essay, to appreciate and analyze the essay as a genre. Here are some questions which will help you to check your progress. First question is, what is personal essay? Second question is, how did Hazlitt show contrast between old and new books? And the third question is, describe the theme of the essay in detail. Here are some names of the books for further reading. First book is History of Literature by Albert. Second is Forms of Literature by B. Prasad. And third is Literary Terms by Brahms. So students, thank you for watching this video. Goodbye, namaskar. We'll meet you soon in the next video. Thank you.
स्वाध्यायः परः